Hi everybody. Welcome to senior night here at Oregon High School. A couple of things. We want to make sure we get started to respect your time. We know it can be hard to come out in the evenings to these things. We also recognize there's a lot going on at OHS. There's senior night for soccer, senior night for volleyball. This is also being recorded, so we'll send it out at another time to all senior families. If you want to follow along, we have the QR code up on the screen, so you can just pull out your camera on your phone, scan that QR code, and it'll take you to our PowerPoint. Another thing, we're going to cover a lot of information tonight, and so we are going to save room for questions at the end. So bear with us while we get through all of the information that we feel like is really important for you to have, and then we'll have time for questions at the end, and then we'll also be staying after. So if you want to have like an individual conversation or ask an individual question, feel free to come on up once we kind of wrap up. But so we are going to get started, and so the first thing we're going to cover is just some quick introductions. So we have 4 counselors here at Oregon High School. I'm Ms. Schaefer. I have everybody with last names O through Z, and then I have some of my colleagues here. So we have 2 other alphabet counselors. We have Ms. Studer, who has students with last names G through N, and then we have Ms. J, or Ms. Jurasevich. She has students with last names A through F, and any students who are in our AVID program here at OHS. And then the wonderful Miss Tracy. She's our coordinating counselor. So she doesn't have an alphabet attached to her, but she does a lot of our testing coordination, our organization, our master scheduling. She helps plan nights like this, so we can all thank Miss Tracy for her wonderful work on getting the senior night set up. And then the rest of our student services team, they won't be joining us tonight, but we just wanted to do some quick introductions. So Ms. Olke and Ms. Otterson, they are our administrative assistants. They're kind of the faces of student services when you walk in. They kind of help students and families get connected if you have appointments to the people that you're meeting with. And then we have Ms. Mitchell. She's our social worker. We have Ms. D'Amelio, our school to career coordinator. Some of your students might know her if they're doing early college credit programming, or if they have a youth apprenticeship, or if they're doing employability skills. She works specifically with students in those programs. Ms. Oscar is our mental health coordinator. We have 2 school psychologists. Ms. Lauby, she works with students with last names A through N. Ms. Hanson works with students with last names O through Z. And then Ms. Delzer is newer to the high school. She is in her 3rd year, and she is our social emotional learning coach, and she is split between the high school, the middle school, and RCI. So she helps a lot with our connections lessons. And then just as a reminder, you all know this by now. You have seniors, but these are our neighborhoods. So Ms. Mittling is paired with Ms. J, Dr. Hunter is paired with Ms. Studer, and then Mr. Ashmore and I round up the last half of the alphabet. So, what are we covering tonight? Tonight's agenda. Graduation requirements. Again, you all have seniors. This is something that you should be pretty familiar with. And so we'll get into it a little bit more just to make sure that with this last year, we're kind of checking all the boxes, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that everybody has what they need to cross that stage in June. We're also going to talk about the college application process, paying for college, some upcoming events and resources for you all as parents of seniors. So if we get into our graduation requirements, this is the overview of what students need to walk across that stage. So 4 credits of English, 3 credits of math, science, and social studies, 1.5 credits of physical education, a half credit of health, half credit of personal finance, and we round out the 23 credits with our electives. Electives being world language, music, art, technology, all of the extra things that students take outside of their core classes. You should have received a senior letter over the summer letting you know what your student needs to complete this year to make sure that you have all of the credits needed. And if you have questions about this, feel free to reach out to your grade or your alpha counselor, and we can make sure that your student has what they need on their schedule to get their diploma in June. So if we continue on our journey tonight, other graduation requirements are going to be 40 hours of service. So we typically, starting your freshman year, let students know we recommend getting 10 hours per year to kind of make it a little bit easier to get to those 40 hours. We also recognize that there's a lot of seniors who don't have any hours submitted yet, and that's okay. We have a couple of different opportunities for students to earn those hours. You can be a cadet in a teacher's classroom of a class that you've taken and maybe found some success in previously. If you cadet for one semester, you get all 40 hours. The other option that's new to OHS this year is we have a new club called the Impact Club. And so that's being headed up by Miss Dunn. And there's a little QR code there that's going to take you to their Instagram page. There's nothing posted on their Instagram page yet because they literally just started a couple weeks ago. But there are some service opportunities that they have already put underway. And they're listed on a bulletin board in the Commons. So while you're in the building, feel free to head down to the cafeteria, check out the service hours opportunities. Some kind of interesting and new ones this year is RCI is looking for junior and senior students who can leave during lunch and come over and be recess game monitors. And so like they're looking for some older kids to come over and help organize athletics and games at recess. There's going to be an Oregon preschool carnival. They're looking for some daycare at some different schools for different like professional development opportunities and things for families coming to the building who might need childcare. So Impact Club is new and a great way to find different opportunities for some service hours. The other graduation requirement is the civics exam. And for this senior class, a majority of the seniors would have taken their civics exam during their freshman year U.S. history class. So a majority of our students have already taken the civics exam. If they haven't, there have been emails that have been going out, and it's something that the email probably came from Ms. Tracy. And I know teachers, us counselors, we're all working to catch those last seniors who haven't completed it yet. So by June, everyone will have passed their civics exam. The other thing to keep in mind is how to document your service hours. So you can either pick up a hard copy in Student Services and fill out the form, or in this slideshow we have linked a Google form as well. So there's either a paper copy or an electronic version. And so again, that is how we are making sure that you all are aware of what your seniors need to get across that stage in June.
All right, thanks Ms. Schaefer. I'm Ms. Studer, and I get to talk a little bit about once you get across that stage, what comes next. And so there are a lot of components to, wrong way, I might need you to, the big one? Oh, there we go, thank you. There are a lot of different components to the application process. And so what I'm going to do is try to break it down for you a little bit more so it feels a little bit more manageable. So whether we're talking about a 2-year, 4-year apprenticeship, whatever it happens to be, there's a different process for each application. So starting with applications. If you're applying to a 4-year school, you have a few choices. You can apply directly to the school. This tends to be more private schools and one of the rarest ways to apply. You can apply, if you're only applying to UW system schools, you can use the UW Systems app. If that's all you're applying to, that probably is the most efficient way to apply. If you are applying out of state and to possibly some of the UW System schools, but particularly out of state, Common Application or Common App, you'll hear that term used, is probably the most efficient way to apply. If you are doing Common App, one of the things we do tell students is to please, 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 if you need letters of recommendation, get with those recommenders earlier. And I'll talk about letters of recommendation in just a second. But the other component with Common App, a lot of times students don't realize, is that 100% of the students who do Common App have to be evaluated by their school counselor. So we evaluate a variety. There's, I believe the criteria is character responsibility, academics, extracurriculars, rigor of classes, yep. And so we tell you this because we always want to be transparent with students, and my point is to go have a conversation with your counselor, because you don't want to wait. If you're going for the early decision deadline or the early action deadline of November 1st, which most students are, you don't want to wait to apply until October 30th when everyone's on a 4-day weekend, because you're going to need your counselor in particular to go in and do that review of you, and our deadline is the same as yours. So if you're hoping to have it in by November 1st, please just talk to people early, whether it's letters of recommendation. I can speak on behalf of all the counselors. We want to do a really good job for you and your student. We feel really passionate about that, and so the purpose of this is so we can do the best possible job. If you're applying to a 2-year school, that application is going to be directly to the school. So if you're applying to Madison College, you're going to go to Madison College's website and apply through there. And again, private schools tend to be either directly through their website or Common App. And then out of state, same thing. If you're applying to an apprenticeship, that tends to be directly through that apprenticeship. The next part is application fees. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. It depends on which school you're applying to as far as what the fee is. Official transcripts, I'm going to talk about in just a moment as well, and what you want to look for on that official transcript as far as what you need to put on that application, as well as how to order an official transcript. Ms. Tracy's going to talk about AP scores and ACT, how to send those scores in, and the next component is probably one of the most important parts of the application, and that's the essay. That's what, when they open August 1st, students tend to start on those first. It depends on what application you're doing. So if you are doing Common App, you'll have 7 essay prompts you can choose from. If you are doing a UW Systems application, you'll have 2 essay prompts to choose from. And if you're applying directly, it's usually 1 to 2 to choose from. As far as what you write, how to look it over, we always recommend, if you have like an English teacher, somebody who you really trust to look it over, that's really important. But the most important thing, we literally just met with 5 different admissions counselors today at UW, and what they're really looking for is your voice. That is the most important part of it. I mean, they were very clear about no AI, nothing like that, which students all know. They really want to hear your voice as far as getting to know you, why you want to go there, why their specific school is what you're looking for, and why it's going to help you. And then lastly, letters of recommendation. Those, most UW schools do not require one, and most 2-year schools do not require one. UW-Madison is the only public school, 4-year school in the state of Wisconsin that requires a letter of recommendation. Some private schools do require them, and then definitely some schools out of state require them. And it depends on the particular school as far as how many are required and who has to write them. But a good person to reach out to would be somebody, if you're hoping to major in engineering, maybe one of your STEM teachers, for example. I would have that conversation with that person. In person is always best, but as early as possible. So if you're going for that November 1st deadline, definitely tomorrow go in there and have that conversation so that they have enough time to write them, because they're getting a lot of requests right now too. All right, and we'll have time for questions around that at the end as well. Okay, I'm going to pass this off. Okay, so on the screen you're going to see a timeline. We went over this in junior conferences in a lot more detail with students starting last year. But you'll see the deadline or the opening date of August 1st as far as when applications open. You're going to see that early fall as far as when the FAFSA or financial aid application opened. And you're going to hear more about that in just a moment. And the next question is always around scholarships, which we're going to talk some more about as well. The different types of scholarships, when they open, those sorts of questions. All All right, so let's go back to those application fees. For UW schools, all the schools that are part of the direct admit are free to apply to. There are 3 schools that have application fees, and those are UW Eau Claire, UW La Crosse, and UW Madison. Madison being 70, and the other 2 being 25. Reminder for those students who are in the top 5% or top 10% and they are applying through Wisconsin Guarantee, remember that even though if you meet their admission criteria, they are telling you, talking to you about auto admission, you still need to meet their admission criteria, which means you still need to apply. So all of those fees and everything would apply to you. Of course, if there are extenuating circumstances, please come see your school counselor. We can talk about fee waivers and with the colleges too. And again, all the other UW schools are free to apply to, except for those 3. Most 2-year schools are free as well. Okay, so when you do the application, there are a few pieces on the transcript that you're going to want to look at specifically. The top left-hand corner, you're going to see the cumulative GPA. That is your GPA from all your semesters averaged together at OHS. And that is the GPA you will put on the applications. You also are going to have a lot of questions around how many credits you've met, where you're at for graduation. And so if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to be able to see what have you earned in science, what have you attempted in science. You'll also, especially if you're doing an application like Common App where you have to hand enter every course you've ever taken, you'll want to look at the transcript to match it and ensure you've entered all your courses. If you need to order a transcript, you will order it through parchment.com. Back in the day, when I was applying, we would request the transcript at school, they'd sign off on the envelope, so it wasn't open, and you'd put it in the mail with your application. It's no longer like that. To be official, it has to go through our secure portal called Parchment. Super easy once you set up an account. You go into Parchment, and again, school counselors can walk you through that. We're linking in that first slide, linked our step-by-step instructions if you click on the word order transcript. But you will go into Parchment, you will set up your account, and you will say which school are you wanting it sent from and which school are you wanting it sent to, and then it's about $4.65. Okay, the other thing you're going to end up sending are test scores. So Miss Tracy is going to kind of walk us through all the test scores and what that might look like.
Thank you, Ms. Studer. And as you had the timeline up there, I realized, the timeline up there, so the FAFSA opened October 1st, so it was last year, I think it was December or January, the years kind of go together, but this year it's October 1st, so it's actually already open, so I need to update the timeline, apologize about that. So similar to requesting your transcripts through Parchment, if you want to send an ACT score, you'll go back to your My ACT account, which we created for last spring's ACT test, and you will order it to be sent to the school through the ACT site. There are no test scores on your transcript itself, so you'll go directly to ACT, your My ACT account. If you need help with it, absolutely reach out to me or one of your counselors, and we can help you access this information. And then same thing with AP. So for all the AP tests that you took, you'll be able to go back into your My AP account and request that scores be sent to whichever schools that you are looking at. Okay, and then this is just a quick reminder, because each year we seem to have more and more AP tests, which is awesome. So right now we have over 460 students taking 850 exams. So if you imagine $103 times 850, it's a big bill. So you'll be annoyed with me sending you email reminders, please finish this, because it's a huge invoice that we have to pay, as you can imagine. So just about every student except for 5 have done that first step. And now the second step is the payment. So we need at least $40 by November 5th, and that means, yes, go ahead and order my exam. If you need additional time to pay it, absolutely just reach out to me. We'll figure out some sort of payment plan, because I totally understand how that goes as well. And some of our students are taking like 5 and 6 exams, so we're talking $500-$600. So feel free to reach out if you need any help with setting up hey, how much do I pay now and how much can I pay later type of thing. So absolutely reach out. So along with paying for college, so the FAFSA, like I said, October 1st, it opened up, and pretty much every scholarship opportunity, they're all going to want to know, have you already filled out the FAFSA? Because this lets them know if you qualify for any federal monies. So this being the biggest contributor to loans and Pell Grants and things. So again, it's already open. You can list up to 20 colleges. It used to be 10, and now earlier today I found that it's 20 colleges. So that's new. And then we have a couple other links up here. That first link, to learn more about the FAFSA, go to the uwhelp.wisconsin website. And in that website, there's a lot of great resources. There's some worksheets if you want to keep yourself organized on where did I apply and when is the next thing due. So definitely check out that link. And then also, if you think you might want help filling out the FAFSA, I am not an expert, nor do I want to be a FAFSA expert. So I will absolutely direct you to someone that can help if you have any questions that come up. But sometimes people just want to bring all their materials and go sit down at a workshop where they actually have a FAFSA expert that can walk you through and answer questions about dependent status and income and IRS stuff. So that FAFSA workshops, so that I think they have a ton of workshops available in the area from now up until like November 6th, I think. Tomorrow night there's like a virtual one, so if you want to get in there and try to check that out, if you want to join virtually. Otherwise, I think there's also an in-person at La Follette, and then a few over by Milwaukee. So they're kind of all over the state. So if you want help filling out the FAFSA, definitely check out the College Goal Wisconsin, it's called. Otherwise, next slide, please. Otherwise, we do have Madison College coming here on Monday, November 17th. And that's just a drop-in. So 6:30 to 8:30, stop in. I haven't reserved a room yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be one of our business rooms, so 141 or 142, Mr. Walmsley's room or Mr. Kubrick's room, somewhere down there. The kids know where that's at, because there's computers set up in there. And we can sit you down at a computer. It should only take 15, 20 minutes. It doesn't take very long. But I will say, and repeat it numerous times, make sure you create your FSA ID at least 3 days in advance. Because we found that out last year. Everyone that showed up was starting to create their ID, and then it's like, oh, well, we can't do anything for 3 days now. So for whatever reason, it takes up to 3 days to get that FSA ID made, created. And both students will need that, and parents will need their own FSA ID as well if they're putting their information, which most likely they will be. If your student is a dependent, they'll need your information as a parent as well, so you will also need an FSA ID. So definitely you can create that today, just so you have it done and out of the way. And then you can join us on November 17th. You don't have to RSVP, just stop in, and I will be chilling here with, I think his name is Eric, from Madison College, just to be available and to help answer questions. You don't have to go to Madison College, correct. Thank you, Ms. Studer. It's just someone that is an expert in FAFSA, and he's going to come and help walk you through that process. A few other ways that students can pay for college. So depending on where you're going to go to school, they will typically have work programs where you can work in their library or work in their cafeteria, or you could be work at like the front desk of the dorm. So depending on the college or university, you want to check out if they have any student employment, it's called, or like a work study, and that's going to go towards your tuition. Also grants and scholarships. So grants and scholarships are free money, so we want more of the free money that we don't have to pay back. So absolutely apply for as many grants and scholarships as you have time for. And we have a few more links and resources coming up here. If not, I'm going to post it to the Google Classroom also. But we want you to have as many of those grants and scholarships as possible, because that's money that's, like I said, free money that you don't have to pay back. Next slide, please. The Wisconsin Tuition Promise, so everyone that applies for the FAFSA will automatically be considered for the Wisconsin Tuition Promise. And what that is the UW systems, except for Milwaukee and Madison. Madison likes to be unique in every aspect. But the rest of the schools have this Wisconsin Tuition Promise, where it helps to cover a great deal of your tuition and fees, depending on income. So definitely check out that link to get some more information about that. UW Madison's is called Bucky's Promise, and then UW Milwaukee's is, I'm not sure if it has a name, but it's UW Milwaukee's. So check out that program. And then also loans. So like we tell students, kind of worst case scenario, if you can't get any more free money, then you may have to take out some loans, which may or may not come with interest attached, which can be a whole lot more information. So I'm not going to go into that too much, but loans will come through either FAFSA or maybe a personal bank, or there's other programs that we can hook you up with as far as resources go. Scholarships. Oh, please, Jay. Okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. I promise we are almost done, so bear with us. I'm going to finish this out by talking about some scholarship opportunities, as well as just some additional post-secondary options that are not college, because we know not everybody goes that path. So we have a couple different buckets of scholarships that we're going to talk through tonight. We're going to talk through 3 of them. The first is going to be different search engines that you or your students can look at to find these scholarships. These are some accredited websites that we are aware of. And typically students create an account and answer some questions about themselves. It might include GPA or ACT score or volunteer opportunities that they've been a part of or extracurriculars. And then it can help narrow down some different scholarships that they may be eligible for. And then there always is a separate application. Sometimes that includes an essay or a letter of recommendation, or it might be some additional work that they might be showing to apply for that actual scholarship. So most of these are going to be national, so they will be going against a lot of different applicants, so keep that in mind. So the more specific you can find when it comes to the different criteria, the better. And it's really kind of up to the student on how much time and dedication they can give to applying to these different scholarships. The next option is going to be through whatever specific university or college that your student ends up attending. So each different university has a financial aid office that has different scholarship opportunities. Some scholarships students are automatically applied to simply by applying and getting accepted to that college. Those usually are based off of GPA, sometimes ACT scores, things like that. And you don't have to fill out a separate application for those. Then, the universities also sometimes have separate applications for different scholarships that you would have to complete that full application again. So it just kind of depends. I would say check out the financial aid office websites for that specific university, and please, please, please don't be afraid to call the financial aid office and ask for assistance. They always want to help students through this process. They are the best resource because they are the ones that are doing the whole application. Then we have Oregon-specific local scholarships. This is something that will come to students through our Connections class sometime in February. So we have a lot of different scholarships that the community has provided students. This is going to be the easiest scholarship application that students will complete, as it is like a one-page, super short questions. There's not a whole lot of additional work that needs to happen, and then students can apply to multiple of those scholarships with that one application. Those typically are due sometime around spring break, and then we award them in May. Okay, now I'm just going to talk about a couple upcoming events. So if students are still curious about some of the college research, we wanted to just provide some additional college fair opportunities. So there is a National College Virtual Fair that's coming later this month, and then again early next month. So that's something that you could attend. And then we do have some specific ones for Wisconsin. There will be one in Verona come March. I know that's kind of late in the game for seniors, but we wanted to make you aware of it as well. We will also be hosting a post-secondary planning night here at the high school again. So it'll be in March during conferences in spring. We'll have a lot of the local universities and colleges, the military, different employers that will come and have a booth And it's your opportunity to go and ask questions, learn more about different campuses or employment. So we encourage you to attend that as well. All right, some final resources. Just a quick reminder about senior photos for the yearbook. Those are due January 16th. Please submit those to Ms. Krenz. And then we also linked in the information sheet so you know kind of like what size does it have to be, what are the rules around what I can have in my photo and all of the different things like that. So you can check that out as well. We recognize that college is not the path for every single student. There are definitely a lot of different options for what kids can do after they leave us here, and one of those includes the military. And so if you're interested about different opportunities there, we did link the U.S. Department of Defense website for you to look at and dive into. We also host the ASVAB entrance exam. We just did one a couple weeks ago. And then we're planning on doing another one sometime in late spring, probably around late April. And that is something that is needed to be able to join the military, but students can also use that as a career inventory. So if they just kind of want to figure out like, what things am I interested in and good at, it's a great inventory resource as well. And it's free. The Wisconsin Technical College System is also a great opportunity for students. So this is going to be 2-year colleges. There are over like 500 some associates, technical college degrees, certificates that students can complete when it comes to a technical school. There are 16 different campuses across Wisconsin when it comes to technical schools. So it's a really great option for kids, especially some students maybe want to save a little money and go to a 2-year campus first and then transfer into a 4-year university to finish off their degree, so that's always an option as well. Madison College is obviously a very common one for our students to attend because it's right here in the area. And so we have some different days that they come into the library and they help students fill out that application and complete it within that one class period. It honestly doesn't even take that long, it takes about 20 minutes, if that. So the next time they are going to be here in the library is going to be November 12th, and then we have a couple other dates for free application days. And then come spring, if you decide you do want to attend Madison College, they will actually come back and help you get enrolled in classes as well. So it's super helpful because it's one-on-one, individualized with an actual admissions person. Then we just have some helpful links for you if you're looking at some different UW systems. Information, gap year, transcript request information, etc. So again, we will send this out to you so that you have those links available to you. Ms. Tracy mentioned we have a Google Classroom that is specific for the class of 2026. So if that's something you would like to join to be able to get those updates, that's where we post so much information, literally everything. So this slideshow will go in there, the recording may even go in there. All the different resources you may need specific to your student's class. Joining that Google Classroom is going to be the best way to get that information. I think this might be our final thing. So while Oregon High School does not sponsor the senior class party, we were asked to just share kind of some of the information with you. We really don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest. But here is a QR code for you to learn a little bit more, and then an email address if you have specific questions about the senior class party. Okay, I think that wraps us up for the evening. We really appreciate you guys coming out and listening. We will stay here to answer any individual questions.